Hi, I'm John, and this is my video on ASP.NET and .NET fundamentals. So in this video, I'm going to be giving some insights into fundamental concepts in .NET and ASP.NET. I'm going to start by describing what ASP.NET is, and then diving into three key concepts: dependency injection, middleware, and configuration. So what is ASP.NET? ASP.NET is an open source, high performance web application framework developed by Microsoft, and it enables you to build modular, cloud-based and internet-connected applications. It is an evolution of the traditional ASP.NET framework and .NET framework, and is, as one of the key things added in this version, it is now cross-platform. It allows us to write web applications, web APIs, and web sockets. So the first concept to dive into is dependency injection, and this is a design principle that promotes the inversion of control principle. It decouples the components of an application to be modular, testable, and maintainable, and there's a built-in DI container that is provided as part of .NET. Why would we use dependency injection? Well, it decouples components, making the system modular. It simplifies mocking dependencies for unit tests due to that decoupling and following in its nature the some software development principles that support it. It's easier to make changes without affecting the wider system, and it's also easier to swap out implementations such as database types. So we use dependency injection by using the built-in DI container that allows us to register services and their implementations in the program.cs file. They are then allowed to be injected in controllers, middlewares, and other services. So typically we'll have our contracts, our interfaces in front of our implementations. We register them, and then they can be consumed in our methods or controllers and middleware and others. So it's registered in the configure services method in program.cs. So when we have a relationship between an interface and an implementation, we register that in configure services. So there's three types of registrations. The first is transient, which is a new instance that is created each time it is requested from the DI controller. It's used for services that are lightweight, stateless, and need to be unique for every consumer, and data or state isn't retained between requests. We then have scoped, which is a new instance of the service that is created once per scope, typically once per HTTP request in the context of a web application, and it's for services that need to maintain a consistent state within a single request. We then finally have a singleton, which is one instance of the services created and shared across all requests for the lifetime of the application. The instance remains in place for the entire application lifetime, and it's for services that need to maintain a state or are shared across multiple requests across the lifespan of the application. The next concept in .NET is middleware, and middleware components are chained together to form a pipeline. So the HTTP requests and responses must pass through this pipeline, which is defined in our program.cs file. Each middleware performs some kind of operation on the request. It then passes it on to the next request of the middleware, or it will short circuit the pipeline for some reason. Finally, we have configuration, and this is just a way in .NET to retrieve settings from sources like JSON files, environment variables, and command line arguments, and more. So our configuration can be injected into our methods, and this gives us access to the settings that are stored in these different places. A good typical example is the appsettings.json, which is a JSON file that might contain things like connection strings or logging settings, and we can retrieve that through iConfiguration. That concludes my presentation on the fundamentals of .NET and ASP.NET. Thank you for watching.